Hello guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be looking at the best rivalries, in my opinion, the best rivalries in the NHL. Now I have 10 listings here, 10 matchups here, a couple of honorable mentions, but 10 listings here, 10 not really in order, but you could interpret it as in order. I'm going to go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 1 is pretty obvious, but the rest, they're all jumbled up into ones that you would expect. Now at number 10, we have the Maple Leafs and Senators, the Battle of Ontario. It has been hyped up quite a bit, even though the Senators aren't as good this season, unfortunately, while the Maple Leafs are still pretty dang decent. It's the Battle of Ontario. There's really nothing to be, really to sugarcoat it, if these two teams meet in the playoffs at any time in the next 4 years. It would be just fantastic. It would just be a fantastic matchup. And it would just create so much excitement in Canada, especially in Ontario. It would just be huge. It would be huge for that province. It would be huge for those two teams. They would be fighting for something special, something big there. And it would be a really nice playoff matchup. And they fight it out every time they faced each other. They really go nasty against each other. At number 9, I have the Bruins versus the Maple Leafs. Of course, the matchup between Bruins and the Maple Leafs in 2013 that ended up in disappointment for Toronto is a pretty big matchup. They played. Boston always plays nasty against teams, but they play even nastier against Canadian teams, especially the Maple Leafs. They're a big opponent for the Bruins, so are the Maple Leafs for the Bruins. They just hate each other because of past experiences and because of past matchups, and they really do not. They don't go lightly against each other. They really battle it out, and they're usually good games, great games to watch. They're always fun to watch, and that's a great matchup, and I love watching those two play. At number 8, I have the Rangers and the Islanders battling it out on the Battle of New York, which is huge. It's huge in any sport, and it's pretty important in hockey as well. And they're able to. There's been matchups before, not too many, but even in regular seasons they always step it up a bit. They always amplify it a bit. And they're able to make the games they're just pretty competitive usually, and they're really fun to watch. Of course, they go physical at it, and the Battle of New York is nothing to really scoff at, and both teams really take it seriously, especially the American-born players. They really do as well, and both teams have pride, and both teams want to show that they're the better New York franchise. So really, they battle it out every single time, and it's really fun to watch. Usually, some games it's about blowouts, but usually it's pretty fun. At number 7, I have the Kings versus Sharks. Just a very competitive matchup. Both of them have played in the playoffs quite a bit recently. The past 5 years, they've really been battling it out for quite a while now. The Sharks and the Kings are probably the two biggest Californian teams. Sorry, Anaheim. But they play a lot in the playoffs. They play a lot in the regular season. And they really do take it to the next level when they play. And it's just fun to watch. They're both more defensive teams, which, if you like defense, that's the games that you would watch. Two teams who are really just competitive against each other, and they're fun to watch, especially if you like defensive battles. On number 6, I have the Blues versus Blackhawks. They've been playing a lot in the playoffs recently, and the Blackhawks have usually dominated. But when the Blues won, I think it was in 2016 against the Blackhawks. That was just a big win for St. Louis, and the fans went crazy, and the whole fan base is each two are just crazy against each other, and they're battling it out in that little Midwest territory right there. They're battling it out in that situation, and they're kind of close just a bit, and they're able to rekindle that central magic, and they're able to have great matchups at least every single time. They're really an even matched team. Both are really good teams. And they both have really great teams. For the past 5 years, they've just had fantastic teams on both sides. And especially this year, it's going to be a great matchup when they play. It's really going to be great hockey to watch, and they both are great teams. So whenever they face off, it's just really going to be a great game. And both teams have had playoffs experience before, just loads in the past 10 years. It's been crazy. Both teams just hate each other for the playoffs. Especially the Blues players that have been there for a long time and have been beaten by the Blackhawks quite a few times. They really do hate the Blackhawks, and a lot of other teams do as well. At number 5, I have Penguins versus Capitals, but just a matchup of just two teams that hate each other exceedingly, especially the Capitals. Capitals immensely hate the Penguins, and they're like their worst nightmare. And what's more to be said that hasn't been said already, the Penguins dominate them in the playoffs almost every single time, unless it's in the first round. If it's a second round, you're playing the Penguins, and your team is the Capitals, you're done. The Capitals just hate the Penguins every single time in the playoffs. It seems like they play them almost every single time, and they really do take it all, the Penguins do, and they always find a way to win, the Penguins. So that just makes the Capitals, even if they play better than the Penguins in the series, they always just hate them more when they beat them. So the Capitals deservedly so hate the Penguins, and that's just a great matchup in the regular season, a great matchup in the playoffs every single time. And both teams are great teams, so they're usually a great matchup, and they usually do play well. And for the past few years, it's really been great hockey to watch. At number 4, you got the Battle of Alberta, Flames versus Oilers. It's huge. What can I say? Battle of Alberta has been going for years now, and it's probably the biggest thing there. It's definitely the biggest rival for the Flames, and it's most likely, yeah, it has to be the biggest rival for the Oilers. Two teams that just have been there for a long time and have just hated each other for every single matchup. And they're usually great games to watch, usually fantastic games to watch. And both teams will bring it when they face each other. And they're good. They've been bad teams recently, and they really haven't been great teams. But whenever they are good teams, like this year, both teams are decent. Except, well, no, I'd say like last year. Last year, both teams made the playoffs, which whenever they faced, it was a lot better than usual. This year, they're not in the playoffs, so. The Flames are in a better position than the Oilers, but let's say the Oilers get back, it'll be a better matchup if the Oilers start getting better. But it's just a great matchup to see every single year. At number 2, I have the Canadiens versus the Maple Leafs, the two longest NHL franchises technically in the Canada region. Their history is just so far back that it's just ridiculous. Both teams bring it every single time they face each other. It's just a feisty, dirty matchup every time, and the Maple Leafs and the Canadiens, they're both teams that have had historic franchises, and both teams are just fighting it out for the history, and that's just the history of the league. And every time they face each other, it just feels kind of sentimental, and it just feels nice to turn on the TV or whatever and want to see a game called Canadiens versus Maple Leafs. It's pretty fun to watch every single time. Most games are pretty competitive. Except for these past couple of years where the Maple Leafs have dominated. Well, they've won a few games here and there after the Canadiens were kind of stomping on them, and now it's a great matchup to see. If it was in the playoffs, Maple Leafs versus Canadiens, that would just be amazing. And number 1 is the elephant in the room, Canadiens versus Bruins, and this has just been amplified to the best rivalry for a long time now. Both teams have had countless playoff matchups and countless playoff upsets by both teams, and it's just been a fantastic rivalry for all these years that it's just never really stopped. The rivalry never has really took a halt, unlike rivalries like the Red Wings versus Avalanche. This has kept going for so long. Canadiens versus Bruins is just a mainstay. It's just what you expect. It's the biggest rivalry in the NHL. Probably one of the biggest in the entire sports, and it's always a talking point when they face each other. It's always one of the best games of the day if they're playing each other, if not the best. They really bring it both times. Both teams just go dirty all the time. Both teams just battle it out to see who's better every single time, and it's really just fun to see. Now, I have a few honorable mentions here. I have 3 honorable mentions here for the top 10. If they are in here, they would have been in top 11, 12, and 13. So, 11, it would be Oilers versus the Leafs. 12, it would be Capitals versus Rangers. And 13, it would be Kings versus Ducks. There's a couple of ones that I could have put there, like Blackhawks versus Wild and stuff like that. But I chose to keep them off the list because I felt like Leafs versus Senators are better. Leafs versus Bruins were better. There's lots of tough matchups here and lots of great rivalries that you couldn't keep off the list, in my opinion. That's going to be for today, guys. If you guys enjoy it, make sure to like. If you guys really enjoy it, subscribe. Tell me down below what your opinions were, what I got wrong, because of course I did get something wrong. Of course, I always get something wrong. And tell me some ideas for the next video. I'm kind of open in the air right here. So that's going to be it today, guys. I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.